up the parts. So the thing no longer is the pile of parts that it was. Brandon?
Sounds to me like a lot of presumptions going on here, like,
Totally.
I mean, it sounds psychotic in a sense. There's no frame of references, it's constant questioning. Like, even if you start to build a standard, it's like another question that he wrote that found, like, where does it end? I don't, like, even right now what you're talking about, where the hell are we going with this? Am I making sense or not?
Yeah, hell is not really invented yet.
I mean,
That
that's just
comes
what it seems
later,
like when you
actually.
get in philosophy, it just goes on and on and on.
But then they do break it down to reason, spirit, and desire, so for justice.
Well, when we get to the Republic, we get some parts to and your question.
Were we able to find the first quiz question on your materials? If Jesus came to your door and blah, blah, blah.
Where? Where is that?
If you go course content, it's on the very bottom.
Okay, thank you.
On the very bottom, or lectures 3 and 4.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
Oh, it's 3 and 4? Okay. Shoot.
Yeah, there's the first one up there.
Here it is.
That's the second one.
Oh, that's the second one.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Here it is.
Yep.
So I think what I'm doing by asking you about Jesus is kind of updating the Euthyphro question. Because I don't know if you've heard of Jesus or not before. A lot of you might have. In a sense, I think of Jesus for many of us as being our conception of the divine in person.
Higher power,
And we do know from the Bible that that's essentially what Jesus asks of us, right? So that's not me thinking up what would Jesus say. That's biblical. By the way, that's one of the reasons why a lot of commentators, for example, Harold Bloom, argues that many homegrown American so-called Christian religions are actually pagan religions. Did you have another question?
It says the first question is the God question, and then the second question is, do you agree that a person's character is fixed from birth? But I thought the second question was, do you have a soul?
Yeah, it's not an official question. The official second question, which class are we supposed to be on? Let me
I was looking at what you just highlighted.
let me take a look at the syllabus because I'm a little confused today. Holidays really mess me up. So Plato and idealism. Okay, so next class will still be on Plato. So that second question about his, the personalities and everything, that's really for next class. I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking Aristotle should be coming up any minute here. And that's another model. That's a model that's going to basically try to destroy Plato's model. So as we're learning this sort of first model that we have in our historical record, and that's primarily, I think, because we don't have good copies of the previous civilizations. I mean, we've got the Babylonians, we've got the Egyptians, of course, and so on. We'll talk about them a little bit more when we get into Jesus, because I'll backtrack a little bit and talk about like the history of monotheism. Just to throw that out there, right? But so, does that answer your question? Yes?
Yeah.
I am feeling pressed because I want to move on to Aristotle, because Aristotle is fantastic too. But yes, we got to really make sure we get Plato down. So the Phaedo, that's where I was, right? So when we're talking about the Phaedo, the argument is the soul has no parts. So therefore, when I die, when they kill me by making me drink hemlock, my soul will be released from the prison house of the soul. This body is a prison house for my soul. Now that's an interesting, that's still, a lot of people feel that today, right? The body holds you down. C.S. Lewis, very lovely, lovely, in a lovely manner, says, you're not a body with a soul, you're a soul with a body. That's kind of, I like that. That's kind of neat. Because I'm convinced that I have a soul. A lot of people today do not. I think of this guy when I think of that. Can't think of his name. Pinker? No. Pinker? Pinker. There's lots of folks. We think of these as, the body is all there is. So your brain, the wet, squishy stuff that you have up here, is physical. So that's totally the opposite of what Plato is describing for us. My contemporary understanding is, well, when you're talking about quantum particles, and everything is made up of quantum particles aren't actually physical. And so nothing really is physical in the exact sense that they're talking about. And so when you neglect adding the new physics and think all we are the neurons, that fire electrical chemical charges, that's all we are. So yes, there's lots of experimentation that shows when you damage the brain, that part of yourself seems to disappear and so on, right? So there's lots of that. Nicolas Gage is the famous experiment, right? He's the miner that had the metal rod, shot into his head, and gosh, his personality changed after that. He was angry and miserable afterwards. Think about all the casualties that have brain damage from explosions around them, or even just the explosions that they cause because of the loud nature of what they're doing. Being in a tank and firing it, I can't imagine actually, but I can imagine that's very damaging to you. And so, there's lots of grounds for saying, yes, you're right about this much, but is that all of it? Stuart Hameroff is one of my favorites. He's one of the two, along with Sir Roger Penrose, that support the orchestrated objective reduction theory, that we pull quantum states and decide that's what we're seeing, and he even puts it in our microtubules, which are kind of cool. We have microtubules, and inside the microtubules, which have a coating, just like your cable, going into your TV. If you have one of the good quality cables, it helps keep interference out. But if your cable isn't very good, you get a lot of static and interference. Well, people seem to have different qualities of cables. So some people see things that other people don't. We call them psychotic, maybe. Right? They're seeing things out there that the rest of us aren't seeing, but they're really seeing it. Not with their eyes. The brain scans will show that they're actually experiencing something. So they're getting information through leakage, through their microtubules, which apparently have evolved for us to be able to concentrate on the here and now. But without them, what are we? Well, there are folks that point out that all of us have the capability of being one with the universe if we take the proper training, which indicates that all of us have that part of the brain that enable us to have that experience, but you do have to train it in order to do it. So you have brain scans that show monks, from Buddhist traditions or Roman Catholic nuns, but Roman Catholic traditions can put themselves into a meditative state, and in that meditative state they kind of shut off the other parts of their sensory input so that they're totally focused and that one part of their brain lights up, and they come out of that experience feeling one with the universe. So it seems like a human characteristic. We all have that, whether you have the training to experience it or not. And yes, some people point out, like Michael Pollan, Notice the first of his books, How to Change Your Mind. The Botany of Desire was the first one I read. Omnivore's Dilemma was great. I haven't read the other two, but I read recently the other one. He basically, in that book, explores 4 different biochemicals with the assistance of experts. One of them is mushroom based, one of them is LSD, one of them is some other kind of toxin, whatever. But so he goes through these experiments and then reports in the book on the experience. I'm not recommending that, by the way. I still value the fact that I had a clearance, a top secret clearance when I was in the Army. And who knows, I might still need that someday. So I'm not going to try any of these. I don't really recommend it. I have friends that have tried it, and they say, boy, you're missing out because you really do experience one with the universe, or not, depending on the nature of a particular trip. So be careful. There's very dangerous things you can end up with doing that. I'm not asking if any of you have already had this experience, but so it seems to me like the soul is a little bit more than just the physical body, even though it's attached to the physical body. But I'm asking you what you think of it. And clearly for Plato, the soul is something outside of the body, and it's released. And it seems like it's similar to a Eastern tradition. You think of a reincarnation. You ever heard of that? If you're a redneck, you say reincarnation. Could be sorry. Reincarnation literally means back into the meat, right? Carne, chili con carne, beans with, chili with meat, right? So you die from one body, but the soul can go back into another one. There's lots of thoughts about different, souls, spirits entering into the body, especially during the Middle Ages and so on. But in any case, Descartes kind of ruined that, but we'll talk about it when we get to Descartes. But so, where was I? I got lost. I'm old enough that I get lost every once in a while.
Acid and mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, so basically the soul. What is the soul? So that's that interesting question. That's a really interesting question. I should make that more important one than I do. But so as far as Socrates is concerned, when he dies, his soul will be free. He thinks 50-50 chance. And so he does have a dream or a myth that he thinks of that at death the souls are all kind of lined up And as they come into this entranceway where they're tested, they have a choice. They could go to the left or to the right. And what he's hoping for is to spend all eternity discoursing with others that he thinks of as able to give him all kinds of information. So that's what he's looking for. And that's basically the Phaedo. Except that, of course, he ends up dying. Famously, at the very end,